They did the Monster Squad.
The Monster Squad.
For a whole new pod.
They did the squad.
Lucas singing, oh God.
They did the squad.
They did the Monster Squad. And welcome to A Whole New Pod, the podcast primarily mostly about
Disney Channel.
Original movies. I'm Lucas Melby.
And I'm Jacob Telejohn.
And what's that sound? Is that a train? Choo-choo? It's a
Choo.
pumpkin spice scented ride on a haunted train with only one stop. Spooky season? That's right.
It is.
It is that time of year. I can never decide if I like spooky season or not, but
yes.
Shocktober, October,
Ooh.
Halloween time, though we're still in early October when we're recording this, but by the time it's out, it'll be closer to Halloween. We have to have a spooky movie to do. This is one I've been wanting to do for a long time. And this is going to be a very special episode. It's a full featured episode. We got a great movie to cover. As you heard it, it's the Monster Squad. And we're going to have all of your favorite segments.
A whole new pop.
A whole new pop. Never remember as long as we don't forget. And certainly you won't want to miss the ending of this episode. So let's just get right into it.
Let's go.
We are covering, as I said, 1987's The Monster Squad. Trying to remember when the Peanut Butter Solution came out, but this is still maybe not quite the oldest. And maybe not. The Peanut Butter Solution is probably still one of the more obscure.
Peanut Butter Solution is 1985.
Okay, so that's still older. And this movie is not quite as obscure as the Peanut Butter Solution, though really some of the most obscure movies we've covered on the podcast are probably stuff like Ready to Run, of just DCOMs nobody remembers.
Yes.
But The Monster Squad came out, as I said, in 1987, written and directed by Fred Dekker, along with Shane Black.
It was a box office flop.
Yes. So Shane Black, I'll get to him in a second, but Fred Dekker, little interesting, not really that interesting, but he didn't have a lot of directing credits to him. He directed a movie called Night of the Creeps, which I actually watched about 2 days ago. Fun little low-budget B horror movie from 1986, I think. So he directed that. The Monster Squad, and then RoboCop 3, which is a movie I think really nobody has tried to reclaim. Some people have tried to reclaim RoboCop 2 and say it's not really that bad. I don't think anybody likes RoboCop 3. That seems to have been about the end of his directorial career. But as I said, he co-wrote this with Shane Black. And Shane Black, I wasn't sure if it would be a name that jumped out to Jacob. But Shane Black, pretty well-known writer and sometimes director in Hollywood. And especially in 1987, he was kind of at his beginning of his ascendancy, because in 1987, he wrote a little movie called Lethal Weapon, which released in March of that year, which was a big hit. And then he acted as well as did some uncredited script doctoring for Predator, which also came out that year in June. Not as big of a hit as Lethal Weapon, but still did pretty good.
Yeah, he did the Lethal Weapons, The Last Action Hero.
Last Action Hero, as well as...
The Last Boy Scout.
One of my favorite movies of his is The Nice Guys, as well as Monster Squad.
And Iron Man 3.
Yeah, who cares?
Directed that.
Monster Squad came out in August.
Yes.
As Jacob just said, not a big success at the box office, so 2 out of 3 for him in 87. Still pretty good, and as we just listed off a bunch of credits for him, he continued to be a big deal in Hollywood, even into recent years. Obviously, this is kind of a bit of a far-flung difference from a Disney Channel original movie.
Yes.
It's rated PG-13.
There
and
is
it certainly
cussing.
Earns its PG-13
blood.
rating. But it also maybe has certain similarities to a certain made-for-TV
DCOM.
movie
Yes.
from 1997 that maybe started us all along this path of Under Wraps.
Oh, yeah.
And I maybe even listened or talked about Monster Squad in Under Wraps. Who knows?
Possible.
I'm not going to listen to that episode again. This is, I think, the third time I've watched this movie. I think it's Jacob's second time, but it might as well be
there were
his
bits and
first
parts.
time.
Yeah, no, there were definitely memorable parts I remember.
Without giving away too much, it's maybe fitting for us to harken back to our original episode in this episode, but we'll get to that later on. So for now, we're just going to launch right into the recap of the movie, which we watched a Blu-ray copy of this released by Kino Lorber, I think a couple of years ago. I actually opened it to watch today.
Wow.
Because that's what you do when you're a physical media collector. You sometimes just buy stuff.
Not open it.
And you're supposed to watch it with friends,
media.
show them, new things. And, I don't have any friends to watch stuff.
Oh. Oof.
So Kino Lorber, it's a company like Vinegar Syndrome or Arrow Video, or as Jacob asked, is this a Criterion Collection movie of just remastering?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's kind of a cult classic now.
Yes, it is definitely a cult classic. And it also came with a 4K version of the movie, but we just watched it on regular Blu-ray because I don't have a 4K TV in our viewing room. And it starts off in an interesting fashion that I give Jacob crap for having seen this and not remembering anything. But there's certainly plenty of this movie that I didn't exactly remember too much myself, including this beginning where we get an opening title crawl that's kind of talking about the history of Dracula and Van Helsing,
Transylvania,
and monster hunters. And I didn't actually really pay attention to some of the stuff because there was some person yapping in my ear. The important part about this title crawl is it ends with "They blew it," talking about what Van Helsing tried to accomplish.
Dr. Abraham Van Helsing.
As far as sealing away the evil of Dracula. And I had read on IMDb trivia that there was, I guess, a more elaborate version of this film that they weren't able to film because, or of this opening sequence that they weren't able to film because it would have been too expensive. So I read that and thought like, oh, they actually don't show any of this. It was just the title crawl. But then we actually see a spooky graveyard. It's a stormy night, lightning's flashing, and then we cut into the catacombs of Dracula's castle where we're seeing coffins and a bat. But it's not just any bat. It's Dracula.
Count Chocula.
And then villagers are storming in his castle.
They got their pickaxes and torches, and they use dynamite to blow up his fence or his gate. Yeah.
We need to establish that dynamite is a going concern back then, but also it'll be in the present day.
That's true.
And they break in, and there's like a she vampire, one of the women that
she just gets like popped.
Yeah,
she's just like dead.
They shoot her with like a crossbow.
Yeah, with a wooden stake.
And I'm just so conditioned with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but like whenever a vampire gets staked in this, they just like lay down. They don't turn to dust or explode or anything flashy like that.
Yeah.
Something that is flashy, though, is this shining amulet in...
It's like green glow.
The entryway to the castle. Van Helsing calls out, and he's like, hey, bring that girl in here. So this girl comes in. We don't know she's a virgin yet.
That's true.
Though I guess maybe Jacob just has a certain sense for her.
Oh, no.
We had smell-o-vision, and he's like, I can smell.
Yikes.
And she is reading from some kind of scroll. But Van Helsing.
In German. It has to be in German.
But Van Helsing thankfully talks to us in English. He pulls out a stopwatch or just a watch. He's like, oh no, we're running out of time. Which then it seems like they actually do fail, but they succeed in a way because all of a sudden this vortex, this magic portal opens up around the amulet and it's sucking people in, but it's mostly just the villagers, including Van Helsing, that get sucked in. Dracula is nowhere to be seen. So quite a dramatic opening. There's even a part where Van Helsing is like contending with a ghoul, if that's the correct term. That's a skeleton that's clawing at him or whatever.
Those are really cool. I can't remember the name that caught my eye.
I think it's Dan Winston.
So he probably did these. maybe.
I think probably one of his biggest movies is like Terminator 2.
Okay.
So he's a fairly well-established name.
They were really good, I thought.
Special effects. And then we, after a very exciting opening, cut to present day. They don't give us an exact year, so if this is 87, 86, definitely going to be in the 1980s. And we are introduced to our main character, Sean, as well as his friend Patrick, who's basically Sean's the main character, but it's quite an ensemble group that will soon gather up.
This all kind of happens. Is this all in like 1 or 2 days? 2 days, isn't it?
If even 2. Yeah, probably at least 2 days.
Yeah.
And maybe 3. Sean and Patrick are in their principal's office where they are getting chewed out because I guess they're not focusing in class because they just love monsters.
They love monsters. The main guy has a shirt that says Stephen King rules. Yes, I enjoy. I need to like look that shirt up to see that it is on eBay or something.
I'm sure
Cop it.
if you put it on Twitter and say this picture, I love this shirt, there'll be some bot that can sell you a version of the shirt that you want. But the principal has a very funny line of saying, "Stop talking about monsters. Science is real. Monsters are not."
Because he does say, when I was your age, I used to like monsters too, but now I like science because science is real.
Oh, but monsters, if only he knew, they're real too.
It's true.
And to clearly show that this is a product of its time, the kids call him after they're leaving the office, call him a homo.
Yeah, there
multiple times.
There were a few derogatory.
Yeah, I won't repeat the second one that we get to
the
shortly.
F word.
Because we were introduced, they were like, "Oh, let's go meet up with Fat Kid," and then we get to see who Fat Kid is.
He's being bullied.
His name is Horace, though. His name is not actually. I didn't see in the credits if he's credited as Fat Kid or as Horace.
Good point.
He's a great character. I like Fat Kid a lot. I guess unfortunately, the actor who played him died of pneumonia.
I saw that
young,
in 1997. 97? Did he die like that?
You don't need to look up when he died. It's just he does not have a lot of film credits. Whether that's the case of just he was a child star, as sometimes happens. Like we'll meet a character named Rudy. I don't think he was in a lot of movies either.
Yeah, died
but
97 at the age of 22.
This guy died of pneumonia, but he is being bullied by EJ, who I didn't look up the actor's name, but he is the older brother in the Wonder Years, playing a fairly different character here as an extreme bully who uses the F slur multiple times, as well as just, I'm not saying fat. He says fat without any concern. It's the homophobic slur that he is saying because it's the 80s. But then Fat Kid is saved by Rudy, who is dressed like a cool 1950s greaser.
It was giving me like mouth vibes, Corey Feldman. From
I don't endorse that. He's very much more like John Travolta in Grease, I would say. If anything, Mouth would be more like Sean or Patrick. Maybe Jacob needs to rewatch Goonies or something. Mouth is mouthy, not like a tough, cool guy.
Yeah.
He could be the older brother of Sean Astin, but he wears a jean jacket or a jean vest.
Gave me the vibes.
Gotta talk about the vibes. Is there some goofy vibes in here?
Ooh.
There's not really.
So yeah, and we don't know really why at this point he's defending him.
He's just a nice guy. He's kind of a loner himself. He's just coming to the aid of Fat Kid.
He knows who Horace is. So yeah, so they're bullying him. They're like stomping on his Snickers bar, and then he like makes the bullies like eat the Snickers bar.
Rudy does.
Yes. Rudy makes the bullies eat the Snickers bar. And then the group of friends kind of like have a little meeting, and they're like, well, should we let Rudy into the Monster Squad? And
before they get there, because that answers Jacob's question of like, why does he know him? And I'm like, Jacob, maybe just watch the movie. And we learn that he doesn't know them because Fat Kid has not even really a jump scare, but Sean and Patrick are walking home with Sean's little sister, Phoebe.
The German man.
They're passing by crazy German guy's house. Or no, not crazy. Scary German guy's house.
Can I spoil that he's not German?
Is he not?
He's actually Jewish.
Well, that's not... Oh. He's not... I mean, yes, you could say Jewish is a race, but
he's from a concentration camp.
He is from Germany. We'll get to that reveal later on. But I was trying to think... I thought this was more like there was a haunted house in the neighborhood. But Dracula's house is kind of like that, but it's not really the same. But did you have any like house when you were growing up that like you were told to be like, oh, stay away from that house, or that you were scared of in your neighborhood?
None of like the...
Jacob grew up in a nice suburban development.
They were just newer homes. Yeah, we didn't really have any older, early 1990s.
There was a guy nearby our house that I think maybe there was suspicions that he was like a pedophile.
Oh, no. I mean,
there was a crackhead across the street from our house too. I'll just say that the crack house was demolished and there's a park there now.
So. Well, there we go.
But it's a haunted park.
Spooky.
Fat Kid tells them, he's like, hey, Rudy saved me. Maybe we should let him join Monster Club. Because it's not... I was confused. I thought it was the Monster Squad already. But no, it's just Monster Club at this point. And they're like, well, we'll see if he passes the monster test.
So some of the questions, so then we kind of see them in their clubhouse. They go
Well,
like,
before we
retreat
get
forward.
there,
Oh,
there's a lot going on in this movie.
yeah.
Because we cut to the skies above where there's a
the
cargo
airplane.
plane
Yes.
where we're seeing the pilots talking, where it's revealed that they are carrying cargo that they know to be dead bodies. And one of them goes back to check on them because they hear something bumping around. And he has a bat fly past him. But I ain't no regular bat. It's Dracula again. And he punches him, and it's really funny. Just like smash punch to him.
And we don't know what happens to these two people on the plane. I don't think anything happens.
I think, they probably maybe get chewed out for losing cargo or something.
Yeah,
but
like Dracula is standing over like over one of like the wheel wells, I think. Or I don't know, just some kind of hatch. And
I don't know if it actually is a realistic thing for a plane to have.
Yeah. So the guy like hits a lever so the hatch opens in like one of the coffins, which has Frankenstein in it, falls, and Dracula's just kind of like levitating. So we're like, oh shit,
it's
a
cool
effect. Dracula. And then like the guy's freaked out and Dracula flies down. He's out of the plane, and then we see the
coffin stop.
Yeah, we see it crash into a lagoon.
Yeah.
The Black Lagoon.
Yeah, that's the thing is I thought there was like multiple boxes, and we'll see.
And that's what I wonder if the lagoon monster fell too, because I think there were two.
But
boxes.
with how the other monsters show up, I think it's just that the Gill Man, whatever you want to call him, was just already there
in that lagoon. Yeah, because the mummy comes from a museum, doesn't he?
So then they're in the Monster Club's treehouse, which is I think kind of between the backyards of Sean's house and Patrick's house. We know it's Patrick's house for sure because Rudy's in there a little distracted because he is peeping in on Patrick's sister changing in her room. And then he's like, actually, maybe I will join this club.
It's naughty. They're taking pictures of her and everything.
There was the camera position there, I guess.
That's how they were getting that zoom.
Yeah, I don't know who had the camera there already.
It was a nice camera.
Patrick? I don't know. So they're throwing stuff at him like, name 2 ways to kill a vampire, which seems kind of like low stakes.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Daylight and, steak. And then they ask him something about like the, how was the Wolfman killed? And he's like, there's 2 ways the Wolfman can, is killed. And he's like, the silver bullet, that's the only way. And then they're like, no, he doesn't know. And then, so he asked the kids, well, then what's the other way? And they're like, car accident.
They can't come up with it.
No, yeah, they don't know either. So,
and then they also establish that it's Frankenstein is the name of the doctor, not the name of the monster.
Yes.
Though they'll start to refer to him basically as Frankenstein in short order, or Frankie, maybe.
Frankie. So he's in.
Mostly motivated so that he can perv on the sister.
Yeah.
We have Sean's mom, who I think is Sean Astin's mom in the Goonies. I don't know. She might be a different mom.
Goonies never say die.
She's typecast as mom in 80s movies that are about an ensemble of kids going on an adventure. She calls Sean into dinner where she gives him this book to be like, oh, yeah, it's from the spooky house. I thought you might be interested in it. And he's like, she's like, it's the Diary of Van Helsing or something.
It's all in German.
And he's like, tits. Oh, man, it's all in German. And then there's like a subplot where...
What do we think Rick from Pawn Stars would, give for Van Helsing's journal?
I don't know.
$100. $100.
I don't watch enough Pawn Stars stuff.
I don't know. It was just a joke because he always lowballs people. Then he brings in an expert.
Yeah, here's the expert. Oh my God, it's Count Dracula. He's like, this is a piece of shit. Don't listen to anything in here. Also, I'm going to hang out in the shop for a little while because it's daylight still. There's a subplot with Sean's dad, who is a cop. That's relevant. But then it's like him and his mom are going to marriage counseling. So that's why this night in particular, Sean can't go out to see Groundhog's Day Part 12.
Part 12.
Which Jacob, especially after Osmosis Jones, you should know Jacob loves Bill Murray movies.
I do love Bill Murray.
But this is a good 6 or 7 years before Groundhog's Day. So this is actually probably more likely a play on Friday the 13th. Or just horror franchises having too many movies.
Yeah.
So that's, they're all the same. So he has to stay in and watch his sister while the dad and the mom go to marriage counseling.
Yeah.
But then they don't go to marriage counseling because he gets called in because...
The Wolfman?
There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There is a Wolfman played by Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. There's a couple other familiar faces in the movie.
Who shows up at the police station and tells them, "Lock me up. I am a Wolfman."
And I don't remember like in this guy, like I don't know where he came from. You know, like we know the Black Lagoon came from the lagoon.
I think it's just for whatever reason
he disappeared. He's just
either Dracula has chosen this place. Well, he has come here because of what's in this house. We'll find, but maybe he has some kind of greater evil influence that he can attract all of these monsters. But also we see at the local museum that there's a mummy that has gotten up and walked away.
And like, so with the Wolfman, like he's trying to get arrested. He's trying to get locked up because he knows what happens when...
But he tries a little too hard because they shoot and kill him. But then later on we'll see him being taken away in his ambulance. Because it wasn't a silver bullet.
Yeah, he's like throwing people through frickin' walls and stuff. He just said, "Lock me up."
Windows.
What's that?
Windows, not
windows.
Walls.
Yeah, yes, windows.
To the windows, to the walls.
All these skeet. So yes, so they shoot him. He's on his way to the morgue, I guess.
And then the moon shines through, and he
grabs somebody's head. And
I will say the Wolfman makeup, not super great here. We do get a bit of a transformation sequence later on. Not in this moment right here. I don't know when this might have been still post American Werewolf in London, which is obviously going to be like nothing's going to be able to match that or do better than that for Wolfman
transition and makeup. Yes,
but you know
it's good.
It's okay.
It's fun.
The Wolfman looks a little goofy, but he kills the guy and
they crash the
away.
Ambulance into the building.
And as I said, the mummy's out there. There's a monster mash going on soon. In fact, they all convene at the swamp where Dracula is there, and he holds out like a
scepter thing. Well, because yes, they're digging out Frankenstein's.
It seems like he's using magic to lift the Frankenstein box.
But it's the Black.
But it's
Lagoon.
Also the Gillman or the creature
monster
from the Black Lagoon
throws up on the shore.
So this movie was not made by Universal, so they have
these are all obviously the Universal monsters.
They have to be kind of deliberate with some of the changes they make to designs to not have them be too strictly. So I know specifically for Frankenstein's monster, the movie version obviously very well known that he has
the bolts in his
neck.
Oh, and neck.
I think it's the neck, and in this he has them in his head to differentiate there.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if there's more signifiers with like the way Dracula looks. Obviously, the creature from the Black Lagoon looks fairly different. He almost even kind of looks like the Predator.
So the way they wake, so they like in the scepter thing that
this
Dracula
is very
has,
weird. He's got
it pulls out like is like a bat on the end of it or something, and it pulls out like the ears, and he's able to like attach those.
They're like electrodes that he plugs into.
And then he sticks his scepter into the sky, and it's like a lightning storm, and then the lightning hits the thing, and it
just like Friday the 13th Part 6
reanimates him. So Frankie's alive, up and good. He is good too. Spoiler alert: Frankenstein's a good monster.
And it's like Dracula knows this because he locks him up in a cage like right away.
Yeah.
Because obviously of the monsters of Universal monsters, Frankenstein's definitely like the tragic one. Because he'll kill a girl, and he was just trying to play with her. Yeah. And we'll get a call back to that scene in a little while as well. So Sean, once his dad comes home, he overhears on his dad's like police radio stuff about the Wolfman, stuff about the mummy going missing, and then I was getting a headache unrelated to this movie at this time, so I was going up to get some medicine. So I kind of missed, but his mom had written on like a board somewhere to be like, "This is who I got the diary from."
Oh,
yeah, it's like Mr. Alucard, which was a surprise to Jacob to find.
He has a notebook, and what do they call? I can't think what they're called. We try to mix up the letters.
Well, it's not even an anagram. It's just Alucard, as fans of Castlevania will know, spelled backwards.
Dracula spelled backwards. Nilbog.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that as well. Nilbog is goblin backwards.
It's goblin spelled backwards.
So then he convenes a meeting of the Monster Club, but renames it to be the Monster Squad. And they're like, "What's a squad?" And it's like, "Well, you might not know, but your kids are going to love it with Taylor Swift."
That's a Marty McFly joke.
And he's like, look, there's monsters here and Dracula's here. And they're like, yeah, so what? But he's like, no, nobody knows about monsters except us. So we got to do something as the Monster Squad. He has the diary of Van Helsing, but it's in German.
He has the diary of Anne Frank.
Also would have been in German, presumably. And Patrick's like, oh, my sister takes German. And we get one of many great lines from Horace the Fat Kid, and says, your sister doesn't take German. She just hangs out with boys and lets them touch her tits. Which kind of just is like left hanging.
That's sad.
Patrick doesn't really protest this.
No.
He's like, but she does know some German. So they're like, okay, I guess we'll deal with your sister to help with that. Though I think they actually go to Scary German Guy first. Though,
yes. They're outside the Scary German Guy's house. And they're like, how do you say in German something something? He's gonna murder us, and he like is like behind them, and he's saying, Wow, you just went like German to like Japanese.
Well, you had to go there, Jacob. So then he invites them into his house, and there's kind of a funny. I think at this point they maybe cut.
Oh,
to,
he has like a knife.
Yeah,
he's like having a like his face is creepy, like he just looks kind of menacing. But he's like sticking out a knife and he's like, it's time for some pie.
It's time. No, he's like, this is your last chance.
Oh.
To get more pie.
Yeah.
And Horace is like, don't mind if I do. But they're drinking like Pepsi with the pie. I think.
So, yes.
In between,
Scary
there's a
German Guy is a nice Jewish concentration.
Yes. We'll get to
survivor.
That reveal. But in between, this is what I'm saying is they cut because it's like he walks up and says this in German and they get scared. Then we cut to, I believe, Dracula being like, hey, Frankenstein. He knows that these kids have Van Helsing's diary, so he's like, go get it from the kids.
Yeah.
And he's in a jail cell.
He says, yes, master.
I guess we didn't set up that Dracula he's got a sick car with a skull on it that we see he drives up to this spooky abandoned mansion that's in this town, as well as all this other stuff going on.
And like Dracula knows all about this mansion. There's like secret, like levers and stuff you can pull to like get into secret rooms and all this different stuff. Like he knows, like, where to go and what to do. And
actually, what maybe the cutaway scene is that we see Phoebe by a pond or a lake, and then Frankenstein's monster is walking up to her. So it's a recreation of the flower girl scene from the original Frankenstein. Scary German Guys translating all this stuff, which then prompts Fat Kid to at one point say, Scary German Guys, bitch.
There are a lot of good one-liners in here.
Well,
there's
a lot of good lines from Fat Kid.
Yeah.
Some of the one-liners from like Rudy, who's supposed to be like the epitome of cool. Some of them are kind of lame, actually.
Yeah.
To the point where I didn't write any of them down.
There are memorable quotes from this film.
Well, we'll get to the most memorable one later on. So the info in the diary is essentially that this amulet is necessary for every 100 years. There's some kind of ceremony that needs to happen to balance out good and evil.
Yes.
And if it doesn't go through by midnight every 100 years on this day, which happens to be like tomorrow or whatever.
Who did this last 100 years? We don't know.
We thought it was maybe going to line up to be Halloween, but it wasn't.
Because, then it would have been okay for the monsters, which they kind of end up doing later on, just walking around town.
Yeah, there's not quite like the under wraps thing where it's just like, oh, nice costume, Harold.
Yeah.
And that it needs to be a virgin reading this thing with this amulet, and then it's going to create a vortex to limbo that can pull everything in. So that means that they were successful at the beginning of the movie. It's just that Dracula wasn't there to get sucked into the portal, that this is still a going concern.
Yeah.
Need a virgin, so we get a great smash cut or kind of editing sequence of Rudy, who is coming out of a 1-hour photo where he has developed some pictures, including maybe one that's a little too hot, where he then spits out the soda he's drinking that then cuts to like a rock being thrown into a pond.
And like Frankenstein's like holding the picture up in the air and all the kids are trying to like jump up and grab it. He's like looking at it and the kids are trying to get the photo. By the
well, that comes later because they haven't met Frankenstein yet.
Oh, yes.
That's just maybe another picture that he gets, or I don't know. Yeah. Maybe I'm getting stuff mixed up.
He takes that photo. I think Frankenstein takes that photo.
Yeah. Maybe I don't know. I'm getting things screwy. But
That's okay.
back at the treehouse, Phoebe is like, hey, guys, check this out. Can I be in Monster Club now? Because she hadn't been able to be in it because she was a girl.
Yes.
But they're all scared of Frankenstein.
They all run away, and she's just like holding his hand.
She calls them chicken shit.
She does, too. Like, he's nice.
And
then
Sean is the one who is brave enough to go up next to him and realize that he's friendly, though he does push Sean to the ground because he doesn't know his own strength. And then they're also like, he's cool because he pushed Sean. And then there's kind of a poignant scene where they go up into the treehouse. So this is the part that reminds me the most of Under Wraps, where they're kind of palling around with Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Though it's a lot smaller portion of the movie than I kind of remembered. But he up there, Rudy's like, oh, check this out. And he hands Frankenstein a mask of Frankenstein's monster.
And he doesn't like it. It makes him sad.
He says, me scary?
It is
So
very
like,
sad.
Oh, it's so sad.
No.
But I think even that mask
had the bolts.
if I have the bolt positioned correctly, so maybe it is. Jacob will do quick research because this one, I think the bolts were in the forehead.
Yeah, the Frankenstein monsters are right here.
Okay, so even the mask was particular to have it be like Frankenstein in this movie as opposed to the Universal Frankenstein, so they don't get sued. Even though you don't even really get a front-on view of this mask.
Yeah, and Monster Squad, they're right here.
All right, myth
Confirmed.
solved.
They're in his head in
Myth
Monster Squad.
busted.
Yes. So yeah, I guess I didn't really, like you were saying, it's not a Universal film, so obviously, yeah, there's got to be.
It's a TriStar film, which I think makes it technically a Sony film at this point. Dracula is in his basement and he smashes a hole in the wall. Show us the hole in the wall. He's like kind of spouting off to Wolfman, who's like following behind him with like a lantern.
Yeah.
He's like, Van Helsing's ancestors thought they could hide it away in this house, but I found it. And
he just like punches a wall, and there's
where are the ancestors? They just abandoned their sacred duty
in this random little town in the U.S.
So yeah, he smashes a hole just to see beyond it that this amulet is back there.
Yeah.
Though later on he'll use
dynamite
to blow it up.
Even though he just punched through a wall. I don't know.
Well, as I explained to Jacob, because I did remember very
Dynamite's
specific
very
scenes
important.
in this movie. They need to establish that Dracula's got dynamite.
Yes.
Who's going to be able to stop Dracula? He says as much as like, nobody can stop me. I'm so evil. Well, we're going to get a great 80s movie montage. Not set to the Monster Squad song yet, but set to some other song of the kids, both kind of goofing off with Frankie, as they call him, as well as creating stakes, melting down.
Silverware, metal, or silver.
Yeah, you said silverware.
Silverware, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
To make bullets at school, stealing bows and arrows. And there's also a kid who I have not mentioned up to this point named Eugene.
He's writing a letter.
Also in the Monster Club. He has a cute little beagle that comes around with him. And he writes a letter.
The military, the army, in his Confederate cap.
Hey, he's got a Confederate hat on for whatever reason. At least we're pretty sure it was Confederate. Maybe it was a very faded blue Union one. But he's like, hey, Mr. Army, there's monsters here. Come send help. And he like has his dog lick it to seal it. And I don't know if we even see him send it. But remember that.
Yeah.
This is one of those things where normally I'd be like, that doesn't matter. But I also remembered how the movie.
It does matter.
The movie does end. Then at the end of the montage, the kids then are kind of just putting their plan into effect. They haven't quite established yet that Patrick's sister is a virgin. So that is the duty of Patrick and Rudy.
At this point, do they only still think it's just Dracula?
Well, no, because they had heard on the radio about the Wolfman and the Mummy.
Okay.
I don't believe they know about the creature in the swamp yet.
Spoiler alert, he just takes a gun bullet and he's dead. They just blow him away.
But it's the shining scene of Fat Kid.
Oh, that is true. Good point.
So most of the people are going to the spooky house, but Rudy and Patrick have to have an awkward conversation with his sister to see if she
are you
a virgin.
You're a virgin.
Have you Does he say, like, have you dorked
Have
yet?
have you dorked anyone before? She's like, pervert. And then he just whips out the photo of her naked that they took.
Well,
It's like blackmail.
we don't know if she's naked. We do see sometimes when she's
Scandalous.
changing and she's in her underwear.
A scandalous photo.
So Rudy kind of blackmails her to be like, I'll make copies of this and send them around at school if you don't help us or tell us if you're a virgin or not. It's a little unclear what
I am a
the desired outcome would be.
I guess we don't even hear her say that she is, but we assume.
Well, they assume wrong.
Yes.
But the other crew is Sean, Fat Kid, Frankie, Eugene, and his dog. They break into Dracula's house. However, as they're doing this, Dracula is in the basement, setting off dynamite to get to the amulet, which then causes tremors in the house, and a bunch of rubble falls on top of Frankenstein's monster, trapping him there. And then shit goes bad because the Wolfman shows up and is attacking them, or looks like he's going to attack him.
There's like the 3 girls at Dracula's.
Yeah, at some point Dracula has turned some more women into vampire slaves of his.
Yes.
And the Wolfman pops up, and Sean yells to Fat Kid, kick him in the nards. And Fat Kid says, Wolfman doesn't have nards, but he kicks him
and he
in the
does.
crotch. And Wolfman's got nards, which is actually the title of a documentary
I saw
about
that.
it, which actually came with my Blu-ray copy. I haven't watched it yet, but it's about kind of the cult film status of the movie, as well as I think probably interviews with people that were in it and made it. So
that's cool.
It is cool that the Wolfman has nards. So then they are running away, but then they run into the she-vampires, and then they're getting cornered by this statue, and they have a deliberately Hardy Boys moment where they're fiddling with the statue, thinking that it'll turn around and like Scooby-Doo swing them away. But then
we do earlier see Dracula using this statue to like get into secret rooms and stuff.
But he pulls the hand, Sean pulls the hand, and it creates
a
trap door that drops them into the basement next to a spooky skeleton.
Yes.
But also, it's directly in front of the newly
amulet.
Broken open amulet
and
room.
All the wards.
Sean goes and claims an amulet, and then Dracula pops up and like throttles him.
Yeah.
But Fat Kid has a piece of pizza wrapped up in tinfoil that he unwraps.
Garlic.
And shoves it into his face.
And
Jacob's like, bro got burned by garlic. And I'll repeat the same joke earlier. I'm like, that's like when Jacob encounters a pizza with vegetables on it. He turns to smoke and screams. So then they run out of the house, though they have left Frankie behind, still underneath the rubble.
Although you'd think he's so strong and big, he'd just crawl out from underneath it, which he later does, obviously. But
though we don't necessarily
see it.
The rest of the crew is there, of Rudy, Patrick's sister, as well as crazy... I keep calling him crazy. Well, it's because what my notes has. Scary German guy and Phoebe. And Scary German guy seems to have a military jeep. And I forgot the dramatic reveal of him being a survivor of the Holocaust. But earlier, when they're leaving his house...
He closes the door.
Wow, Scary German guy, you sure know a lot about monsters. And he goes... in a very knowing fashion. Yes, I sure do.
As he shuts the door, and we see his concentration number on his arm.
Which seems to be kind of a low number. So maybe, he was an early joiner of the Holocaust.
Yikes.
And Jacob's like, oh.
Early adopter.
I'm like, yeah, Jacob, those were the real monsters.
Wow.
That's like those comics are like, I don't want to go see the Avengers. I want to go see...
the Nazis.
No. The cop and firefighter. These are the real superheroes. Oh. Yeah, fuck off. We're talking about the Monster Squad. Those are the real heroes.
Yes.
I don't really know why, but Scary German guy's like, oh, there's an old church in town. We should go there.
They just think because it's, they say monsters hate religion.
I think with that, and it's like, let's go somewhere where there's lots of people. But then they go there, and there's no people.
There's a Burger King, though. Like, the church is like just in like the middle of town square, it seems like.
The cop dad is at home where he is on the radio or the walkie-talkie that the kids have been using walkie-talkies earlier, and he must have a third walkie-talkie, and he gets a hold of Sean, and Sean's like, hey, we're going to the church.
That is after the treehouse is blowing up.
No, it's not.
No?
It's after Uncle Rico shows up into this may have happened earlier. Uncle Rico at some point calls the cop to be like, hey, I'm a wolf man.
Yes.
You gotta come stop me. And then he's like, you're giving me a prank call.
He's after
and then
the
he
kids.
says, he's gonna kill your son.
Yeah.
So then he's like, oh shit, I gotta find my son.
That's right.
So then he gets with his partner, the cop dad, and is driving. And while they're driving, they drive through Dracula, who's in his ghost car that passes through them.
Yeah, and they're like, we're not going to tell anybody about this.
So then I think that leads to him driving back to home. But Dracula gets there first, where he drives his car through the fence of their yard. And then he goes to the back and doesn't just open his door. He tears off the whole door of his car.
Own car.
To get dynamite. That then he goes, walks, deliberetely, but still not super fast, into the backyard, lights the dynamite, and throws it into the tree house.
He says something. I don't remember exactly what he says.
He says, I fucking hate the Monster Squad.
I don't know what
I'm
the
sick
point
and
of
tired
this
of
was.
these Monster Squad and my motherfucking tree
Why
house.
would he know where the treehouse is?
It doesn't matter because
Why wouldn't he just blow the house up?
This is one of my favorite sequences in any movie.
That's so odd.
And then
the mom notices.
It's not over because he goes up front and the cops are there and he
start shooting him.
He lights another stick of dynamite he has.
He kills
magically.
the black cop.
He throws it under the cop car. The cop dad gets out, but the other cop doesn't, and it blows up with the guy inside of it. We don't quite see like his charred corpse, but like it should be there.
Pretty wild.
I can't remember the actor's name who plays Dracula, but he's got also my other favorite scene coming up later on. He's really fun in this movie. And then I think he turns into a bat here and then flies away.
Yeah, because he later gets shot when he's coming in.
I don't know, his car, he's kind of half destroyed it himself.
Yeah, he gets shot when he's coming to the church.
So then dad knows okay, this is where he talks. You're right. This was after they blew up the treehouse. That's when he uses the walkie-talkie here. He was looking for Sean because of the Wolf Man. Patrick's sister is bad at reading German, so scary German guy has to coach her through like the words
it
phonetically.
Must be a female virgin.
We guess. I don't really know.
I
think the sister's like, why can't crazy German guy do it? I know I said crazy.
He's not a virgin. He gets around.
He fucking is. He fucks.
Well, in the very beginning of the movie, like the flashback, we see it's like a gal, doing.
Well, it's one of those things. It's always a maiden, a virgin girl.
Yeah,
that's what's important.
Girl can read German, virgin.
Yeah, that's top of my list.
Yeah.
What I'm looking in a potential partner. Can they read German? And I guess a virgin, maybe. That sounds weird. But as she's struggling through reading this, the she vampires are rolling up.
Yeah, but they just get staked. What's his name?
Rudy shoots one with
the stakes.
An arrow stake.
Then he stabs one in the chest too, as she's like attacking him.
Meanwhile, Dracula's flying in as a bat, and then the cop dad just rolls up and starts firing crazy rounds.
Shooting like the rounds are going above the children's head. It doesn't look like he shoots the bat, but we see him
apparently
later.
He did.
Yeah, he later goes into the church where the bats landed.
No, I think it's like a athletic goods store.
It's
because there's lots of
Adidas.
boxes of Adidas shoes.
That's true.
So it's like a storage area. He goes up there, and there's a cool looking effect, makeup, whatever you want to call it, of Dracula half changed from bat into human, and he seems to be shot.
Yeah, he's bleeding. And Wolfman, the Nards man, is coming up behind the cop dad who has dynamite.
Yeah, he has gotten dynamite again somehow, and he's lit it to throw at Dracula, but then the Wolfman pops up.
Hits it out of his hand.
And then I don't really remember exactly what happens.
Somehow does he kick the Wolfman in the Nards again?
Somebody comes to the cop's dad's rescue, and then Wolfman gets the dynamite in front of his Nards, and then they kick him out of a window where he explodes.
He literally blows up, and you see chunks and bits of him.
Because it wasn't a silver bullet. You can't kill him with an explosion. We see his bits of his arm.
His body's like coming back
moving
together.
And creeping back together.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Patrick's sister finishes reading the German, and she's celebrating.
Did we see the mummy guy already fall apart?
Oh, that's right. Yes. There's too much. This is the most notes I've taken for a movie in quite a while.
There's not really a dull moment in the movie.
As they're driving away with
scary German guy
in his Jeep, the mummy's just walking in front of them in the road, And then
he starts attacking the little girl on the back of the vehicle.
yeah, he's hanging on in the back.
And then they take part of his bandage and they wrap it around an arrow and shoot it to a tree, and it just unravels the whole thing. We see all
and
his
it's a
dust.
cool looking effect where as it's unraveling, it
Dust.
still seems like, his leg is formed there, even though there's not a leg there.
Yeah,
and
it is
then
cool.
dust is showing. So it's a little goofy and lame how they deal with him, but it still looks cool.
It's like some Scooby-Doo stuff.
That's my excuse for why I didn't
Scooby-Doo.
remember that.
It's
it
like a
happened.
real Shaggy,
But yeah, we
Shaggy
wouldn't
and
want
Scooby
to
moment.
imply that there was a dangling bandage of
Ooh.
the mummy not being resolved in this movie.
So he's
Because everybody
dead.
else gets wrapped up.
Mummy's donezo. Wolfman is donezo.
Well, not yet, because he's
No, he's not.
reforming.
Lagoon Man's coming up here, isn't he?
Yes, but before that, as we find out, she's a bit of a hoochie mama, maybe.
Ooh.
Patrick's sister finishes reading, but the amulet's not doing anything. And
You're not really a virgin, are you? It was only with
Steve, but Steve doesn't
He
count.
doesn't count. Oh, brother.
He's like, my sister's a hussy. So Rudy then has to fend off the reformed Wolfman.
Yes.
I think the Wolfman's there's a bunch of cops that have shown up at this point, and he's maybe fighting with them, but then Rudy just pulls out his gun. I guess he gets a gun somewhere, and he has a silver bullet, and I think says bang, and he shoots
Yeah. I
the
mean,
wolf.
he was the one we see melting down the silverware.
Yeah. And then the Wolfman is suddenly in human form, which I think kind of throws Rudy for a loop. And
You.
he says, yeah, kill me. He says, I bet I could throw a pigskin over them mountains. I love Napoleon Dynamite.
True.
So then
Facts.
Phoebe, as an obvious, since she's about 5 years old, pretty clearly a
Well,
virgin.
we see the little kid, Eugene, asks her, "Is she a virgin?"
And
Yeah, she is. I'll tell her. I'll walk her through. She doesn't know German. I'll tell her. I'll tell her what to say.
So then I guess scary German guy he's telling her exactly what to say, and she just has to repeat it,
yes.
which maybe they should have just done that
She's
to begin
like
with.
mumble
then-
rapping.
Fat Kid encounters Gillman, the creature from the Black Lagoon. And I don't know where this happened, but he has a shotgun and he shoots. First, he's trying to get into like a toy store.
Oh, yeah.
Where we see that his bully from earlier is there and he won't let him in. So then he's just like, oh, okay. Well, he turns around and shoots the Gillman
Yeah.
with a shotgun. And that
And they're
just
like,
does him in.
yeah, Fat Kid.
It's like,
you
was the creature
rule.
from the Black Lagoon that scary if all you had to do was just shoot?
He wasn't in it that much. But they say, yeah, Fat Kid. And he's like, the name's not Fat Kid.
My name is Horace. And then he cocks the shotgun and we get a music sting and be like, yeah.
Pretty cool. So 3 of them are dead. 2 of them are dead.
They're all dead except Dracula and Frankenstein.
Oh, yeah.
Phoebe seems to be getting close to the end of the recitation, and Dracula is very dramatically walking towards her and just like fighting off a bunch of cops. It's
Yeah,
kind of like
pushing them
Neo
down.
in the Matrix, where he's just like
A lot of these
effortlessly shoving
police
them away.
are like, they see like somebody, a fellow police officer just getting like killed, and they just like don't shoot or like don't like attack. They just kind of
Well, there is a point at some time, maybe it's at the house, where they do shoot Dracula.
and just
alive,
nothing
and it doesn't do
happens.
anything.
Yeah,
And then my favorite scene in the movie,
you just bleed.
he picks up, it's not quite that he's strangling her, but he's holding her by her face.
That's amazing.
He picks up Phoebe and says, "Give me the amulet,
You bitch."
And she screams.
if you don't watch this whole movie, look up that scene.
I mean, it's
really,
definitely the reason why I would have had Jacob watch this before.
it's really funny.
But Frankie comes to the rescue. He says, because he had been taught words by Phoebe.
She's not a bitch.
He doesn't say that. He just says, bogus.
Bogus,
And
yeah.
throws Dracula up in the air.
And we see Van Helsing like strangle him or something. don't
Well,
we?
not quite yet, because what happens is Dracula lands on like a fence post.
Oh, yeah,
and he gets
yeah.
impaled, but it's not a wooden stake or whatever.
Correct.
So she finishes the reciting with scary German guy, and then
Portal.
initiate the suck. The
Ooh,
portal
the
opens up,
suck.
starts sucking in a bunch of stuff, the
Yeah,
various
like cars,
monsters and
people.
what have you. And Dracula's getting dragged away, but he grabs Sean in the process.
Yeah.
And his dad's like, no. And I think it must have like floated by him or something, but Sean gets a stake.
Stake.
And he stakes Drac. And then Van Helsing pops up through the portal,
Like, just
grabs Dracula, and then gives a thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
And Sean gives him a thumbs up back, which I do not think a thumbs up existed back then, but
Definitely
it's
not.
very funny.
It is.
And unfortunately, despite kind of the parallels between Frankenstein's monster and Sloth in the Goonies, he does not get to come and live with Fat Kid or Phoebe.
Sad.
And Phoebe has to let him go, but she throws him her little toy that she had been talking about earlier, Scraps. And Frankenstein's monster floats through into the portal.
He looks happy.
I forgot to mention earlier, there's some scenes where Frankenstein's monster is wearing sunglasses, and that's a funny bit.
He's cool.
So kind of all the chaos is settled.
The portal closes. The wind is down. Town still looks like a wreck.
Classic.
The military.
Slow-moving America. The military shows up.
Where's Eugene?
Who can tell me what's going on here? Well, we can. Who the hell are you? And
the Monster Squad.
We're the Monster Squad. And then they just... The credits start rolling, but the kids are all just like, yeah, high-fiving each other, kind of just ignoring like the army is even there. And again, in classic 80s fashion, we get a song that's
Monster
about
Squad.
the events of the movie, talking about the different monsters and that the Monster Squad's going to take care of everything and all of that good stuff. I don't know if I'll put it at the end of this or
Copyright.
not. I'm sure somebody's uploaded it to YouTube. So that was the Monster Squad.
What a great movie.
I was telling Jacob earlier, currently I have this movie at 3.5 stars on Letterboxd, but after this viewing, I seem to have enjoyed it more, and I think I might bump it up to 4 stars. It's a very fun movie. I forgot to check if it's maybe available on like some streaming services. You don't need to buy a Blu-ray to be able to watch this, I'm sure. So, especially
that movie is a banger.
Fun watch ahead of Halloween, even if you got some kids in the house. Not too scary. Maybe just the homophobia.
The
earlier.
cussing,
That's the scariest stuff.
Yeah.
But Jacob, for your kind of first watch, any final thoughts you want for the Monster Squad?
Loved it. I was surprised. Like you said, there's a lot always going on. It's not ever really dull. I don't know what the length of the movie was, but
I think it's around like 80 minutes.
It flies really good.
Shorter than some DCOMs we watched.
Yeah, it like the whole gang aspect. I mean, you eliminate like the cussing and stuff.
Squad, and this is definite #squad.
Yes, sorry. You eliminate like the cussing and stuff, and yeah, I mean, I could see this as like an early DCOM. You know, it's got the vibes.
Well, certainly, just probably most DCOMs were kind of coming from influenced by Goonies or post-Goonies movies,
especially like you said with Under Wraps and.
I won't say I think Under Wraps was inspired by the Monster Squad because I don't think it was super well watched around that time, but it should have been. Under Wraps 1 remake, Under Wraps 2. Actually, no, Under Wraps 2 was fun because the two gay dads.
Two gay dads.
All right, so that was the Monster Squad.
Good movie.
If you want to watch this and then tell us about it yourself, you can write us at awholenewpod@gmail.com. Don't have any emails to read off per usual, but I did want to kind of recap some recent comments we've had on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/awholenewpod.
Monster Squad. I was going to say it's not streaming, but you can rent it on Apple TV.
Yeah, I'm sure it's rentable through
like $4.
Services.
Yeah.
So I think most of these are bots. One of these I'm sure is a bot.
Okay.
Where we got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 comments from the same account on our 13th year video that are variations of the crying laughing face emoji, the like celebratory like popper emoji, the heart emoji.
Weird.
And the blushy smiley face
What's
emoji.
the name of the account?
It's just random characters.
Odd.
And they all have one like. I don't know what purpose this serves. I don't know if I even clicked through to see if there's anything on this account. But that's weird. But then we have gotten a series of comments from a different account called David Ospina-Q1C, who commented on the Read It and Weep video, who just asked, who is Tom Virtue, who is the dad from Even Stevens. He's also in a small part in The First Under Wraps, and I think is also the dad of like the pizza shop in Read It and Weep, if I'm remembering that correctly.
Okay.
So I thought it was just like a genuine question. Obviously, he could just Google who is Tom Virtue, but I just said the dad in Even Stevens, and then he commented correct, but then also commented, why does Kay Panabaker's character Jamie Bartlett from Paul Hohen's movie Read It and Weep enjoy her leggings?
What?
A whole new pod. Why does Jamie Bartlett enjoy her leggings in Read It and Weep? In Read It and Weep, why does Kay Panabaker's character Jamie Bartlett wear her leggings?
Like over and over?
These are all separate ones. And then one more. Why does Kay Panabaker's character Jamie Bartlett enjoy her leggings and wear a ponytail on her head from Read It and Weep? So I don't know, like, if this just becomes like a weird AI chatbot that is like going in. But I didn't even see these for a bit. Because we had other comments.
What is this?
This one was the kind of the creepiest I found. So for Halloween Town High, the same account commented, what iconic clothes does Sophie Piper, played by Emily Rosky, wear in Halloween Town High when she lays on the couch watching TV with her little pierced ears? I'm like, I don't know if I feel like I maybe need to report you or something.
Oh, I'm dying.
And then we got one more.
Oh, jeez.
On Zine on the Sequel.
The same guy?
Yes. Why does Lauren Maltby's character, the mean kid Margie Hammond, wear her pinkish type outfit at the end of Manny Koto's movie Zine on the Sequel? So there just seems to be some weird... The internet's becoming a horrible place. But we did get one legitimate real
all about
comment.
different outfits. Oh my!
Yeah,
God.
I don't know. It's something.
Oh, help
Did get
me.
one nice comment on the Dunstan Checks In episode, which I don't know, could still be a bot comment.
Oh,
What a delightful, fun-filled, and thoroughly enjoyable film, courtesy Dunstan. So,
shit.
keep an eye out if we see any.
We
more
need
of
more
those
comments from
David Okumbo or whatever his name was. So give me a little bit of a spook reading some
my
of
face
those.
is red. I'm burning.
And because I almost just forgot it, never remember our reoccurring segment where we discuss whether the main characters from our movie, of course, could have stopped that notable day of 9/11, the terrorist attacks. And I'll just say, I'm pretty sure Al-Qaeda's got nards. So I think the Monster Squad would have been able to save the day.
They'd blow them up. They'd blow up the planes midair. The dynamite.
They would all be kicked in the nards, so they wouldn't be able, they'd
Fair.
overpower them and they would fly the planes to safety.
Yeah.
Because maybe they get the guys from the cargo plane in there too.
Frankie would stop one for sure.
All right, so that then leads us into, well, Jacob's already burping, and we haven't even gotten to the soda for A Whole New Pop, our beverage consumption segment. I guess it's the laughter's fault. Which, if speaking of our YouTube channel and comments, if you aren't subscribed on there, you wouldn't have seen our most recent spin-off standalone A Whole New Pop episode where we covered Oreo Coke and Coke Oreos, so you can check that out on there. In that video, I think we discussed that we were holding off on doing the soda we have today, which Jacob brought us a can for, which is the yearly tradition of Mountain Voodoo.
Voodoo.
I haven't had this yet. You haven't had this yet, right, Jacob?
No.
I was at Dustin's house recently, where his wife and him did tell me they had it, but they didn't tell me. They came to the same agreement about what it tasted like, but they wouldn't tell me what it was. So,
okay.
I was there to finally, I made my journey to meet Dan Schneider, Levac finally.
Wow.
So we'll just crack this open.
Oh my.
And see if I can pour it in less of a messy fashion.
Look at that whitey goodness. It's white, isn't it?
It always is. Because it's mystery.
Mystery, that's true.
It doesn't want you to be...
The white airheads.
Yeah. It doesn't want you to be prejudiced about its color of what you're tasting. Smells Mountain Dewy.
There's a little bit of a flavor. Or a scent.
No, it's actually flavorless.
It smells good.
All right. We doing it?
Let's slurp and gurp.
Who do you voodoo, bitch?
Bitch, that's a good game. Dead Island. Ooh. It's like a fruity.
Yeah, maybe it's another Airhead. I don't know. Cotton candy? I don't know if I got like the slam dunk. Oh, maybe is it like the clear Dum Dums? All right, I'll be the one to. Let's see if there's a.
It's a familiar flavor.
Decision Voodoo 2024.
It's familiar.
Okay, the internet sucks. I'm just getting like AI being like, this is what voodoo is.
Oh, let's see.
People are saying strawberry, blueberry, pixie stick, strawberry, Laffy Taffy. Okay. Yeah, it's one of those things where maybe now I'm feeling that it does taste like strawberry. Not bad. Kind of Mountain Dewy.
Like eventually, like Mountain Dew will release what it is, right? Like they'll say what it is.
I don't know. Are you subscribed to Mountain Dew's press releases? Breaking news. Mountain Dew has announced officially what the voodoo flavor is.
Oh, that's good, though. I like it.
Yeah, well, I still got a bottle for myself to drink. Since Jacob brought a can. All right, so with all of our regular segments out of the way, I guess I'll get in the housekeeping before our final messages. So as we talked about, youtube.com/a-whole-new-pod. Like, comment, and subscribe there. Find us on your podcast platforms of choice, primarily, I guess, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And then also on Twitter. Follow us there along with all the porn bots at AWNP on Twitter. So I'll just get into it for some slightly sadder news, though I haven't necessarily been too subtle about keeping this under wraps, pun intended.
Under wraps.
But the writing was obviously on the wall. Anybody who follows a show or a podcast or a YouTube channel that changes their upload schedule or frequency or what have you, you got to know it's not long for this world. Something bad's going to go on there. Nevertheless, it is with a heavy heart that I must inform our small but dedicated, probably, hopefully,
600 plus YouTube subscribers.
Oh boy, our audience, number one fan, Dustin, that after this episode, a whole new pod will be going on an indefinite hiatus. I'm not prepared to say that the show will be over for good, so still stay subscribed and tell your friends. We just we'll no longer have any kind of set schedule for regular releases. But for dialed in Disney Channel fans, there are going to be certain things that you can probably anticipate us still covering. We've already talked about the newly announced Zombies 4. This time there's vampires.
Next year.
So we've got plans to do that. There's likely, we just got the first of a new franchise of Descendants movies. So for those, I'm confident to say that we're still going to cover them in some form and fashion. I'm still going to be buying limited edition stupid sodas. So we'll probably still maybe continue doing a whole new pop in some fashion as well.
Yeah.
And damn it, I still need to watch Tall Girl 2. So we might get to that at some point too. Just things are going to be different and a lot less frequent. And I've tried to think about different ways, conceptualizing things that could be different about the show that would maybe make it less of a burden on me, but still up in the air. No promises there. With this episode, we are just shy of hitting our 6th anniversary of doing the show, which is a milestone I never thought we would get to. And frankly, we probably shouldn't have. We've never kept it a secret that the podcast never really attracted an audience that we maybe had hoped for. But we persevered and got through every single DCOM anyways. We said, fuck the haters. And I'm proud of what we accomplished. Some things are surprisingly still the same from our early days of podcasting, like our recording setup that we never upgraded. Though we did move on from early episodes where me and Jacob just had one microphone and we did it like Lady and the Tramp style.
Yeah.
Very erotic. But I do think eventually we hit our stride, maybe after 50 or so episodes, and we started producing work that I wasn't completely ashamed of.
Lucas did a great job.
However, nothing stays the same forever, and watching movies targeted at kids and teens that we likely aren't going to enjoy is no longer a top priority for either of us with where we're at currently in our lives. So that's kind of my spiel on the subject. I don't know if you got any final thoughts you want to... Well, not final thoughts, but just words you wanted to put out there, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, we covered all the movies we said we would, and we, went and did some more that we, each of us enjoyed, wanted to cover. And, I mean, we, like you said, we plan on, covering the future, within the universe of DCOMs, if you will, still cover those films. But, like it's,
I will say,
we're not doing
the tech issues we had with the
anymore.
agent. It was not Agent Cody Banks. The Big Fat Liar episode did hurt, and not the reason why I didn't want to do this anymore. That was already kind of the plan. We only probably lasted this long because I knew I wanted to do Monster Squad for October.
You had to do it in October. Yeah.
That's something where sometimes I just plan out something I want to do, where it's like my anime detour trivia panel. I want the third one to be called Fast and Furious or Tokyo Drift or whatever.
Yeah.
So that means I got to do this for 3 years for a dumb joke. So we had to keep doing this at least for a handful of months still to get to the Monster Squad, which I think is a good movie for us to finish off on for now. Whereas like if we wanted to hit the 6th anniversary, it's like, I don't know what we would necessarily do. We'll do Thanksgiving. No, Thanksgiving would not fall within our...
Something, maybe there's a Christmas movie, I don't know.
Well, conceptualize how things could be different, but I didn't. I interrupted you in your thoughts, Jake.
No, I mean, I said we covered all the movies we said we would. We hopefully can cover the other ones to come. But yeah, I mean
well, they're not doing DCOMs anymore.
No,
so.
But I mean, they're movies that were DCOMs, right? I mean, like those were part of the...
Streaming has ruined everything.
Yeah.
So.
Sad, but I mean, I got to live through all my, nostalgia, of growing up in the...
And probably we quickly
90s.
got beyond that, and we still had like 70 more movies to get there.
Early 2000s. So, I mean, it had a lot of fun, going back and looking at those movies. And I mean, I think most of the movies, even the ones I hadn't, seen when I was younger, I enjoyed too. And I mean, even like Lucas and I going back and forth picking a movie and watching that together, that was I enjoyed that as well. So I mean, the podcast was always fun for me, anyways. So,
well, it was fun for me as well, Jacob. And we had friends that came on as well, just 2 of them. But it was fun to have Sam when we did it, as well as
the
Dustin.
Early days.
And maybe we'll find ways to maybe me and Dustin just do a podcast. Maybe me and Sam just do a podcast. Or maybe we get 4 people in a room and our audio quality just goes to complete shit.
2 guys, 1 mic, 4 guys, 2 mics.
If you have ideas of what you maybe would want us to see do differently, you can write in as well. But anything else, Jacob, before we sign off?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, then, with that...
Thank you, everyone.
Then, now, forever, a whole new pod. The podcast all about
Disney Channel original movies.
I've been Lucas Melby.
I've been Jacob Telejohn.
And just remember, it's not a goodbye. It's just see you later for now. Probably.
I will live. I'm making it a point. As a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why I'm on my low-carb diet and trying to stay away from sugar, etc., because I want to live to stand over and piss upon Vince Russo's grave. For the fans that he's deprived of seeing fucking great wrestling, for the fucking wrestlers whose careers he's shortened, for the fucking people that make their living in the wrestling business who have had elevated blood pressure or fucking lowered fucking income because of his fucking foolishness. Vince, one of these days, I'm making it a mission now in my life. You're going to go before me if I have to make it to 93 just so I can stand there and take a whiz on your fucking headstone, pal. Fuck you.